Hey everyone, it's Jen. Welcome back. Okay, for today for you, I have 5 books that I want to recommend that are based upon paranormal activity, haunted houses, that kind of thing. So to get started, the first one is The September House by Carissa Orlando. I read this last year. This was so good. 5 stars. If you like Grady Hendrix, like his style of writing and his sometimes satirical, scary horror, then you'll like this one. The premise of this one is we're following Margaret and her husband, what was his name? Hal. Margaret and Hal buy this old historian house. It's like their dream house. It has a lot of things that need to be fixed on it. It needs a lot of work, but they get it at a great price, and so they decide to buy this house. They have a daughter named... Why can't I remember anyone's names today? Catherine. So they have a daughter named Catherine, and this house is haunted in the most entertaining, funny, yet scary, horrifying way, if that makes sense. So fast forward, they lived in this house. It's a quirky house with some unexpected problems, some paranormal activity. It's unsettling and creepy, but yet also clever, fun. It's a great read. Hal disappears, and Margaret comes back to the house. I'm sorry, not Margaret. Catherine, the daughter, comes back to the house with the goal of finding out where her dad is, what happened to Dad. I wasn't scared reading this book, but I was very entertained. In September, the house goes from weird and quirky to downright creepy, like blood from the walls, and she has to get through every September. There is a dark entity in this house as well, along with some of the ghosts that you kind of fall in love with in a weird way. I don't want to give anything away, but this didn't scare me, but it had the creepy haunted house vibes that you like in horror books about haunted houses. But if you're a little squeamish, or if you're a little bit, you don't like getting scared, then this one you might want to check out. If you like Grady Hendrix, you'll check it out and you'll like that too. So, or you would like it if you checked it out. So that's the first one, The September House. That was a good time. Okay, next one I don't own. It's an author, Darcy Coates, that I've been wanting to check out for a while. I actually checked out something with like a wintry cover out of the library to read, and I never got to it. So Darcy Coates is definitely on my radar as a writer that I want to try. But we have The Haunting of Ashburn House. It's been on my radar for a while. The owner of this house went mad. There's restless ghosts in this house. It's very cruel and sinister. We're following Adrienne, who inherits a crumbling old mansion, but she sees it as a lifetime. She's down on her luck. She has no money. She has nowhere to live. So she takes this opportunity and grabs this house. There's strange messages on the walls. There's a powerful, angry spirit. She finds a grave on the property that has some horrible, terrible, I think decades old secret. And she becomes, as she's trying to solve this mystery of this haunted house that she lives in, she becomes prey to a very angry and resentful evil entity. So this book she's trying to escape this haunted house. It's a book about survival, and it sounds spooky and great, and I love the cover. So there's that one. Next one I actually got this as a gift from my stepbrother for my birthday a couple years ago. I still haven't read it. Sorry. Maybe this year. This is actually written in 1981, which is a long time ago. And it's by Michael Rowe. It's been blurbed by Stephen King. It's called The Elementals. It's very short. It's under 300 pages. This copy is 218 pages. So the font is pretty small, but it's a shorter book. And so in this one we have, I think it's the Gulf of Alabama. There's 3 Victorian houses. 2 are lived in, 1 is not. The one that's not lived in is slowly filling up with sand. It has some kind of horror involved, some kind of entity that's very scary and frightening. It says a horror there that shapes nightmares. And so obviously no one lives in this house. But then you follow two families that are families through marriage, the McCraes and the Savages, and they are trying to go on summer vacation, escape a funeral, like their reality. They just had a funeral. They have an upcoming very messy divorce, it says. So they decide to take this vacation. And then they find out that they're not alone and that the house is trying to come up with ways to kill everybody. So this is Southern Gothic horror, written a long time ago, 1981, and it just sounds creepy, and it looks like a nice short read that maybe you could read one night and hopefully scare yourself. Okay, the next one is by Riley Sager, Home Before Dark. I read this as soon as it came out. It was a book of the month, obviously. This was so good in typical Riley Sager fashion. The atmosphere of this house, I felt like I was watching a movie. Like, it was so vivid as I was reading it, and I felt like I was there. It was all kinds of creepy. I don't want to give any spoilers. I'm going to try to keep this simple. But we have a family who moves into this Victorian estate. It needs a lot of work. It's in the Vermont woods. And they only live there 3 weeks. Something runs them out of there in the middle of the night. They have a daughter named Maggie. Maggie doesn't remember any of it because she was too young. But the father goes on to write a book called House of Horrors. And this book becomes very popular, makes them famous. Maggie is the daughter of this famous author with this real life haunted house story. So fast forward, I think like 20-ish, 25 years later, she is now, what she does for a living is she restores old houses. So she's called back to restore this house that they left mysteriously in the middle of the night. She does not believe in ghosts. She does not believe her dad's book to be true. But then as she's there restoring, she starts to second guess and starts believing in some things. So definitely creepy. I really like how the House of Horrors story was a book within a book. I really liked how that was sliced into our story that we're reading, if that makes sense. Very well crafted, very well done. Typical Riley Sager as far as the writing was great. I was on the edge of my seat, couldn't put it down. All of the things that happen to me when I read Riley Sager. I was definitely creeped out, and this was a really engaging, twisty read. Loved it. So there you go. Okay, last but not least is another shorter one. This is The Spite House by Johnny Compton. This is a debut. I have not read it. And it's blurbed by a lot of people on the back, but this is obviously a haunted house. We are following Eric Ross and his 2 daughters. They are desperate need to find a place to live, to find a job. It's hard for him to find a job because he has this dark entity that's attached to his family that he's constantly running from his past, something along those lines. So there was a house with an ad to live there, to see if you could stay there, see if it's really truly haunted in the middle of Texas. Makes me think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which that movie scared me and will always scare me. I think it's so unsettling. But yeah, so Eric and his 2 daughters move into this house. The owner of this house wants that proof of paranormal activity, like I mentioned. So if him and his daughters can stay there, I don't know if there's a certain time amount or until they find the answers of this house. I'm not sure exactly what, but there's like this huge payout. So he feels like it's worth the risk to try to see if he can get money from this. He's thinking, you know what, if this house really is haunted, maybe it'll help me get some answers to this thing that's like following my family. Yeah. There's themes of obviously fatherhood in this and family in this, but also grief and loss. And I've heard it's very gothic and thrilling. Like I said, it's a short one. Again, I think it's like another 300 page, 260. So we have 2 on this list that are under 300 pages. So those could be easy, quick read in one night, one night by a fire and a cup of coffee or tea or something like that, and hopefully freak yourself out. So there you have it. That's The Spite House. 5 recommendations. Obviously, I haven't read all of them. But I'm excited to pick up the ones that I haven't read at some point. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this gave you guys some ideas of what to pick up next. Happy reading. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.